Nobody had to tell Jesus about human nature, because Jesus understood human nature. And it says he understood it well. We always have the sense that Jesus did everything perfectly, everything in right order, always was under control. Tell me, did Jesus ever cry? Did you know what it was to feel hurt? Did he ever cry in the Scriptures? He wept when his friend Lazarus dies. It says he wept. He felt so bad about his friend Lazarus dying. So he knew what it was to lose someone. He knows what we feel when someone we love dies. He knows what it is to feel that kind of pain. Now, have you ever seen a picture of Jesus smiling or happy? I can only think of one time I ever saw a picture where Jesus was smiling and he was happy. And remember what he was doing? He was playing with children, with little children. He knew what it was. Let the children come to me. Jesus knows what it is to love and to feel love and to be loved. Did he ever get angry? Did you listen to the gospel today? Sort of seems like Jesus lost it, didn't he? He did. He kind of just lost it. But he didn't lose it like they talk about people just going over the edge suddenly. He actually had time to make a whip out of cords because he's planning this anger and he's going to teach these people a lesson. Jesus knows what we feel. And whether it's anger or happiness or fear, all those kinds of things, he knows what that is for us. So Jesus walks with us every moment of our lives, and everything that we struggle with, Jesus knows it and is part of it. But in this gospel today, he was misunderstood. They were angry at him because he was turning over the money changers' tables and chasing the animals out of the entrance of the church. Now, they weren't in the church. They were out there. And he had a great reverence for the church, the Holy of Holies. How many of you were still here when they turned this church sideways? Oh, was that a happy time for everybody? I'll bet not. I heard reverberations of it when I arrived here after it had been done. And people were even saying to me, "Why did you turn that church around, Father?" I said, "I didn't. Father Jewison." Yeah. But you know what? The reason people got upset is because they thought that was kind of desecrating this church. It was built to be that way, not this way. But I have to tell you something. I love celebrating liturgy in this church because you, the people in the church, aren't looking at the back of each other's heads. You're looking at each other. It's like gathering around a table like a family does. What if we ate dinners at home the way a lot of the churches are built these days? It is about us sitting around the table being family, around this table. But yes, some of us got angry about it, and we get angry because sometimes we don't understand. Just like Jesus was misunderstood. Some say that if he would have probably explained to everybody, now, here's what's going on out here. You guys are changing money, and you're wrangling, making deals with money and stuff. We really shouldn't be doing this in here, so let's all leave, okay? He probably could have done it that way. Do parents ever do that with their kids? Like, instead of doing it the gentle way, you sort of just kind of explode. Well, Jesus had that moment. Jesus was also misunderstood in this gospel today. After he gets through, I got to stay on track here now. This sermon could be twice as long as I was planning. With being misunderstood and how things are interpreted for us. Sometimes some things are said to us and we don't hear them properly because maybe of where we're at. Just a little story, shortly after I had arrived here in Fairmont, my mom had a stroke, and because of that, my dad had to start doing stuff he had never done in his life, like dishes, laundry, cooking meals for my mom. And he loved this dessert called cherry chocolate cake, where you take regular cake mix and then you put in a can or two of cherry pie filling, I think. Well, anyway, he wanted to make that, and Mom says, "Well, I can help you." And she's in the wheelchair, and she can't speak very well, and she was kind of helping him out in the kitchen to do this. And they got to the part where you put the pie filling into the mix, And Mom had to leave for a moment. And he said, well, don't leave. Just tell me how to do this. And she says, well, just read the directions. All right. So she comes back about a minute or two later, and my dad has his hands in the bowl, and he's mixing. He's just digging into this stuff, and he's got pie filling all over his hands. He's got it all over the countertop. She says, what are you doing? Is there something wrong with you? He says, I'm just doing what you told me. I'm following the directions. It did not tell you to do that. He says, it says right here on the box, stir by hand. You know, some things that are so obvious to some are not so obvious to others. And when we listen to this gospel today, when we listen to Jesus, he's talking, when he speaks about the temple being torn down, he's talking about himself. He's saying, you are going to kill me, but in 3 days, I will raise up this temple again. And this thing is, even the disciples did not understand that at the moment. They didn't even get it. And these are his closest friends, the ones he's handpicked to be with him. And they didn't quite get it until he died and rose from the dead. Then it all came together for them. So I guess maybe this gospel for us today is to think about those moments when we don't always understand well, when we misinterpret what is really meant, whether it be by the scriptures, whether it be by the people around us. Because you know what? I really honestly believe that any person we understand, we can love. If we know from where they come and why they are the way they are, shouldn't we be able to love them? No matter who that person is. Even a terrorist. That terrorist has a reason for being why he or she is a terrorist. And they are as committed, and I'm not trying to lift up terrorism, please. But that person is just as committed as we are to our faith. And for us to just try to understand that might open our hearts a bit to the people around us, and those people especially with whom we have struggled loving and caring for. Yeah, I love the way this church is put together. I love celebrating liturgy, or I always have. But some of us didn't find that as an easy shift to make. Some people in our lives are difficult to love. But I really honestly believe if we try to understand them, we will love them. And some of it we don't understand until later, do we? Jesus had to die first before it made sense to really know what it meant to rise from the dead, to rebuild the temple. Today, let's pray for that understanding we need to deal with ourselves and to know that Jesus knows everything we feel, to deal with one another and know that knowing the other person around us, we can love them. And then we truly, this trip through Lent will be an experience of understanding, not misunderstanding. And in that understanding, we will love better each other, God, even ourselves, if we understand. Please stand.